We are happy to have the screening of the film EMDEN, of course. It is thanks to the efforts taken by the Consul General of the German Consulate who has been with us, and we have extended a warm welcome to you, sir. We are happy to be here with you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. On behalf of Indo-Cine Appreciation Foundation, we like to garland the Consul General, and Mr. Venkatesan, the owner of the Woodlands Symphony Theatre, will be garlanding him. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. I request the Consul General to introduce the film and say a few words about the contents of the film.
We're very happy to have you here. We're very happy to see that you have come and join us in this screening of the... This is a film from 1932, so allow me to find a few words on this film and why we are screening this film today. And I'm very pleased to have Professor Chalipatan with us to say a few words of the history of the times and putting the events a little bit into place. As you will be aware, this year marks the centenary anniversary of the bombardment of Madras by the German light cruiser EMDEN. This is the only time in World War I that the so-called Middle Powers directly attacked Indian soil. An event, however, that has been reflected in the media over the years, but especially this year, of course, and as recently you will find there are articles appearing in Frontline, Outlook, The Times of India, and in The Hindu. We're also very grateful to The Hindu allowing us to show some of their archive pictures of what Madras and Chennai looked the day after. With the screening today, we do not aim to further the understanding of what was happening exactly on the night of 22nd September 1914, the night that the German light cruiser EMDEN attacked Madras port. The events that have brought death to some 20 million military and civilians, that resulted in 21 million people wounded, was, in the words of Fritz Stern, the first calamity of the 20th century, the calamity from which all other calamities sprang.
It is said that pictures speak more than words. So motion pictures speak much more. So I don't think I should detain you for too long. These days people care too little for history, and that results in a lot of ignorance. One student once asked me when I was teaching the Second World War, "Sir, does that mean there was a First World War?" So this is the level of ignorance. In India, we tend to think of war as something spectacular, something to be celebrated, something to be glorified. It's because I think the last few centuries, Indians haven't really understood what war means. Europe knows what war is all about. And when they refer to the First World War as the Great War, it is not about the ideals that might have underpinned that war, but the sheer scale of the war. I won't go into the statistics. The Consul General has just given you an indication of what is the scale of the war. Indians, it is not as though Indians were not involved in this war, but it was the lower classes who went to war and died in unknown places. So the middle class tends to think of this war as a great spectacle. The only moment when they actually saw what it meant was when the EMDEN came and bombed the city of Chennai on the night of 22nd September 1914. The war could not have come at a more inopportune moment for Indians. The first mass phase of the Indian nationalist movement had been broken by about 1910. Most of the major leaders were in prison or they had just come out of prison. So there was one real hope that at the end of the war, Indians would get some sort of independence and freedom. These ideas were also belied. Just to take one case, the great Tamil poet Subramanya Bharati, who commented about the course of the war for 4 years when he was holed up in Pondicherry, the French enclave then. He was repeatedly voicing this hope that at the end of the war, there will be some light at the end of the tunnel for Indians. But that did not happen. So they were seeing war at a distance. We use the same words to describe many events. We call Russian Revolution as a revolution and the Green Revolution also as a revolution. So sometimes words tend to confuse. We really have to understand what war means. In terms of the World War, it was an all-out war. It was not the contained conflicts of 19th century. World War was not only truly global, it was the first war that did not make any distinction between combatants and non-combatants. So this is the crucial difference, as Chennaiites themselves had a little taste of it on one night in September 1914. The other interesting aspect of the World War, which has direct bearing on this film, is that if the 19th century wars were fought on the fields by infantrymen and cavalrymen, and the Second World War was largely fought in the skies. The crucial battles of the First World War were fought on the seas. Until the end of the 19th century, the British Navy was the largest navy by far. It was larger than all other navies of the world put together. But from about 1897, the Germans are building up their navies. And I think the EMDEN symbolizes the rise of the German naval power. Even though this cruiser was destroyed within months, more or less sunk in the Australian waters, within months of attacking Chennai, the EMDEN has passed into popular memory. It is so deeply graven in the minds of Tamils. As was just mentioned a little while ago, it has passed into common language. It is, there is a sneaking admiration when somebody is referred to as an EMDEN. The great lawyer Varadachari was called EMDEN Vakil. People, EMDEN. As recently as a few years ago, a film was made with the title EMDEN Magan, where Nazar plays a very tough farmer. Very interestingly, there is a German historian called Heike Libo, who is actually working on the impact of EMDEN on Indian popular memory. EMDEN, as it was mentioned a little while ago, is so much of oral lore, folklore, fantasy that has been over around EMDEN. It is also said that Dr. Chembalram, a very important nationalist who was in Germany for a long time, was on the Kreuzer, because it's extremely fanciful. But there are some myths that we should let them live, because sometimes myths serve their own purpose. There can also be some very dangerous myths, but I think this is a very harmless myth, and let us leave it. It was so popular that I found one chapbook published in 1914 in the British Library. In those days, songsters used to stand in the crossroads and sing out songs and publish small chapbooks. Bujuli Pattan Solvaanga, Kalana Patta, Arayana Patta. The songbook would cost just 3 paisa. They would sing the song and sell the songs. And the themes of the songs used to be very contemporary. One of those contemporary songs is about EMDEN. I'll just give you the title of that chapbook. It's called Chennai.Film German EMDEN Kappal கடற்கரையிலிருந்து குண்டிட ஆரம்பிக்க பிரிட்டிஷ் சேனைகள் செயின்ட் ஜார்ஜ் கோட்டையில் இருந்த எம்டன் கப்பலை குண்டால் அடித்து துரத்திய வல்லமை சிந்து. இது விஜயபுரம் சபாபதி பிள்ளை அவர்களால் இயற்றியதை பூர்வீகம் ஏனங்குடியில் இருந்து இப்பொழுது விஜயபுரம் பள்ளிவாசல் தெருவில் வந்திருக்கும் சேமு முகமது காசிம் ராவுத்தர் அவர்கள் முயற்சியின் பேரில் அச்சிடப்பட்டது. 1914 பைசா 6 அரைனா. Just a massive body of steel and iron with some cannons and guns, which fired at a few places, sunk a few ships, and ultimately was destroyed. It, in a sense, symbolizes a whole range of things. And I think we should put it in perspective. Not get the wrong lessons from history. Sometimes we don't learn from history, but sometimes we do even worse. We learn the wrong lessons from history. I think India has been fortunate, even though it has seen great calamities in its history. I think India has been spared, in a sense, not just one world war, but 2 world wars. So on that note, I also look forward to watching this film. Thank you very much.